If you don't believe me, I will set up a GoFundMe page. I'm not lying to you. I'll get you a ticket, go to Afghanistan, live among your Taliban, Ikhwan, the Salafi Muslims, and then come back to me say, no, they don't do this.
I won't go.
They're still doing this to this day. And not only the Sunni, the Shia are doing it too. So my whole point is, how can you still with a clear conscience follow this book?
Well, the thing is that I was born into this religion, so I have a strong love for it, and I was born into it.
Weren't the pagans also born into paganism when Muhammad came and told them leave? Then they used the same argument you did. I was born in this religion, and our fathers were on this path.
Yes,
but they still left, right?
You're right. But the thing is, it's when you're born into a religion, it's something that's part of your culture. You can't just give it up easily. You can't just give it up.
That's what you show. You love God more than your culture and your family. God, even though it's been part of my DNA, I know you're the true God, and I'm willing to give up everything for you. So you're saying you love culture, tradition, and family more than God. Okay, then you're going to answer to God on the day of judgment. It's your judgment, not mine. I'm not going to stand and give an answer for you. Because if you can still follow this religion, then I got to be honest with you. I pray God saves you from it, but you're a potential danger, because if Sharia is implemented, then you would be one of those who would be all for grown men mounting minors, premature minors. Do you understand the psychological, physiological damage that does to a premature girl who doesn't know anything about intimacy to have a grown man do that to her?
Now, of course, that's going to be a huge problem, of course.
So why did your prophet do it to Aisha?
Well, that was 1400 years ago. That's a different time.
But he's a prophet for all time, and he's supposed to set a standard for all people. Did he not know that if I sleep with a 9-year-old who's playing with dolls and on swings, I'm going to cause her psychological, physiological damage, and I'm supposed to be an example for all Muslims to follow, and they're going to follow my example even in the 21st century? I thought Allah knows all things.
Allah does know all things, yes.
So then why did he have your prophet do that to Aisha?
Well, Muslims say that Aisha was mature. She hit puberty. That's what we heard.
Okay, so you're saying, okay, let's go with it. It's not true. I have the hadith. A 9-year-old playing with dolls on swings is mature enough for a 54-year-old man to mount her and then leave her a widow at 18 where she can never marry again. Be honest. Are you okay with that?
You put it in a way that obviously, like, if the way you
No, it's not. I'm putting it. I'm stating the fact, and your heart is hurting you. Do you know why? Let me tell you why. Romans 2:14-15, the true word of God says, God wrote his law in your heart and the Spirit is convicting you. I'm putting it as facts. I didn't exaggerate. It's your hadith that says she was playing on swings and with a doll when your prophet, when they took her, put her on his lap, and he took her to his house and he deflowered her at the age of 9. He's 54. It's hurting you, and you know it, because the Spirit is trying to get your attention. He's telling you, wake up. This is not from God. It's from the pit of hell. So when are you going to leave this man? He's not your example. Jesus is your example.
Well, Muhammad is the best person who ever lived in history. So that's
better than Jesus, who never raped any women, committed adultery with any women, who never mounted a 9-year-old, who never told his followers to do the same thing. So he's better than Jesus. Muhammad is not even as good enough as Paul. Paul was just a man, and yet Paul never committed adultery, never took captives and raped them, never married a 9-year-old and deflowered her, remained pure and holy because his example was Jesus. Muhammad is not even as good as Paul, let alone Jesus. What are you talking about?
I just want to read the hadith really quick. So it says, narrated, Aisha said that the messenger of Allah married me when I was 6 and consummated the marriage with me when I was 9, and I used to play with dolls.
And what's the grade?
Sahih from Sunan an-Nasai.
Yeah, and it's in Muslim and it's in Bukhari, and even Ibn Kathir says no one disputes. Nobody. Ibn Kathir commenting on this age, nobody disputes this was her age. What are you going to give up? My friend, you understand a 54-year-old that makes him old enough to be her great grandfather? Well, walk away and follow you. Here's my challenge. I don't want to keep going after this. Do me 2 favors. Just do me between you and God. No one's watching you. Number 1, cry out to God. Say, Allah, if you're the true God, I need you to show yourself to me. And if Islam is the truth, show yourself to me, because you make dua from your heart. Okay. But if Islam is not true, show me what is the truth. And if it's Jesus, I'll accept it, whatever is true. That's number 1. And number 2, here's what I want you to do. Not to convert. I dare you to pick up the Gospel of John. Just read the Gospel of John. Just read it. Nobody watching you, by yourself. You don't answer to me. You don't come and tell me you did it. But here's my challenge. Open up the Gospel of John. Just read it. It'll take you maybe an hour, but don't rush through it. And tell yourself, when you hear his words and see his miracles, ask yourself, can Muhammad even come close to this man? That's all I'm asking you to do, these two things. Between you and God, because if you die, I die. If you're wrong, you're going to hell, friend. If I'm wrong, I'm going to hell. The most important question you can ask yourself is, who is the true God? And do not care what people think, because those people won't judge you on the day of judgment. The true God will judge you. But if you love your reputation and your family more than God, God will judge you for that. I just want you to do these two things. Could you do that?
Okay, then.
All right. And I don't want to give you any more. I want to leave you with this. So let's leave with this. Okay. Say that prayer, read the Gospel of John. And then if you have more questions, come back. But I just want to leave you with this for now.
Okay, I'll leave. I'm done for the day.
Okay. Awesome. So that means you don't even care with the kind of teachings you find in the Quran, that if you have the upper hand and if you're called to jihad, fi sabilillah, you would do with no shame, right?
If it's in Islam, then yes, of course.
Okay, so you're okay with chapter 4, verse 24. If you take a woman captive, jihad, spoils of war, and she's married, and the Quran says she's lawful for you because by taking her captive, you dissolve the marriage, and you can have sex with her. You okay with that?
I'm not sure if it says that. If it says that, then I have to
open up chapter 4, verse 24, and I'm going to give you the Sahih Hadith.
It has an historical background. I'm not
give you the historical background. The background was the Muslims went to war at Autas. This is Sunan Abu Dawud. It's Sahih, and they took beautiful captive women in a ghazwa, an expedition sent by Muhammad. And these women, their husbands were alive. They didn't want to touch them, and Allah said, "You can touch them. Just make sure they're not pregnant." I'm going to give you the historical context, but let's first read it. 424. And wedded women, meaning married women, you cannot touch, save except what your right hands own. So if there's a married woman, you can't touch her except those that your right hands possess. Now let me get you the hadith for this historical context. He's reading it already and he's shocked. Do you want me to read it for you? See, he's shocked. You see his reaction? See? By your action, I can tell you that because you bear the image of the true God, and it's not a face, it's bothering you, which is good. There's hope for you. So let me read it. Sunan Abu Dawud, Kitab al-Nikah, Abu Sayyid al-Khudri said, the apostle of Allah sent a military expedition to Autas on the occasion of the battle of Hunayn. They met their enemy and fought with them. They defeated them and took them captives. Some of the companions of the apostle of Allah were reluctant to have relations with female captives because they're pagan husbands. So Allah, the Exalted, sent down the Quranic verse, and all married women are forbidden unto you, save except those captives whom your right hand possess. So your God said, don't worry about it. You can have sex with them. This is to say that they are lawful for them when they complete their waiting period. Only thing you have to do is make sure they're not pregnant. Because if you have sex with them, they're pregnant. You don't know if it's your child or their husband's child. So be honest with me, since you have no problem. If you're living at the time Muhammad, theoretically, and Muhammad sent an expedition to attack your village, he took your mother captive, your sister captive. I don't know if you have a wife and daughter and your grandma, and they were taken captive and they had sex with these women. Are you okay with them doing that to your mother, your grandmother, your wife, your sister, your daughter?
No.
Say it again?
No.
So then why are you okay that Muhammad did it to other people's mothers, wives, daughters, and sisters? Because that's what he did. This is the historical context. So why are you okay that he did it to other people's women when you're not okay if he did it to your women?
Well, that's like, that happened at a different time, in a different context. It's not
not been abrogated. Be careful. This is Quran. It's not mansukh. It's not abrogated. This is why when Muslims attack today in jihad, they still take captives and rape them. Tell me where the Quran says this is no longer applicable if you're in jihad.
Well,
fear Allah, because you're going to answer to Allah for every mistake you make.
That's a tough question. I can't answer. I'm not a scholar. I can't answer. It's a tough question.
Good. Even your scholars can't answer it because they'll tell you, yes, you can. And you know in your heart, because I can see reaction. This is evil. This is wicked. This is adultery. To take my wife and then have sex with her in front of my eyes just because Allah allowed you to do it. This is disgusting. Condemned by the true God revealed in Jesus.
Leave Islam.
Yes.
Please, you cannot have this.
Come to a better way, the only way, Jesus Christ, who would never let you do stuff like this. He would never let you do stuff like this. You agree? Allah, who's perfect and flawless, sometimes he speaks better than other times.
Some ayats are better than other ayats.
But the ayat is speech. It's Allah speaking.
Yes, it is Allah speaking.
So that means sometimes Allah speaks better than other times.
That's what it says. Yes, it says that.
So your God improves in his speaking ability over time. Okay. I'm all right. It's all right. I'm just saying. I'm not putting you on the spot. I just want you to deal with what your Quran says.
You really believe that, peaceful Muslim?
Well, yes. If it's in the Quran, I believe it because I believe whatever comes from Allah. I believe everything that comes from Allah. So yeah.
How does that make sense though? Like
Allahu alam billa kayfa. You don't try to use reason, then he would be a mutazzili. What's wrong with you, Avery?
Man, I guess I'm losing it, Sam. I thought I could reason with my Muslim.
That's why you're not a Muslim. May Allah lighten your path.
Yeah, my heart is darkened.
May Allah guide all of you.
We'll come to abrogation a little later. I think this is just so we can figure out, you accept whatever the Quran says, and you do admit, since every ayat of the Quran is a speech of Allah, and some ayat are better than others, so Allah speaks at times better than at other times.
Yes, well, if that's what it says, then that's what it says. I can't argue.
All right, so here's what I want to ask you, though. Since the Quran is a speech of Allah, can the Quran talk to Allah?
The Quran, yes, it can.
It speaks to Allah.
Yeah.
So
the judgment will come and speak on my behalf.
So you're very honest. You just admit the Quran is going to do what?
Speak on my behalf, yes.
So the Quran is Allah's speech, and yet the Quran will speak to Allah. So is this Allah speaking to himself?
Well, the Quran is not Allah. It's different than Allah.
But it's his speech. It's Allah speaking.
Yes.
So does it make sense that my speech will speak back to me?
Allah ya'lam. I don't know. Allah ya'lam.
Again, you see, only Allah knows. So I'm glad you're honest again. You told people that, yeah, the Quran will speak to Allah and it will speak on my behalf to defend me before Allah, even though the Quran is supposed to be Allah speaking. So the Quran is Allah speaking, but that speaking will then speak back to Allah who spoke it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Allah ya'lam. I don't know. So I haven't studied the religion.
Okay, so but do you actually also believe that the Quran will appear as a pale man?
That hadith is weak. I don't follow that hadith. The hadith is weak.
No, it isn't. It's not weak. Here it is. It's right here. It's Hassan. Here it is. I just sent it to him. It's Hassan. Where'd you say it's weak?
Appears as a pale man. I don't see the issue.
Okay, no, I didn't say there's an issue. You accept it?
Oh, I accept it. Fine. There's no issue with it.
Okay, so you have no problem with Allah's speech speaking back to Allah.
Yeah.
So Allah speaking, and that speaking speaks back to him. You have no problem with Allah's speech appearing as a pale man. And then the Ruh also in chapter 19, 17 appears as a man. But can Allah appear as a man or no?
No, Allah can appear as a man.
You sure?
Allah himself can appear as a man.
That can or cannot?
Cannot.
I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm just going to give you that hadith where Muhammad saw your Lord beardless, looking like a youth. According to the sound hadith, it's not da'if jiddan. I'm going to give you my article here. Your God appeared to your prophet as a beardless youth.
That's not incarnation. See, even if that's true, that's not an incarnation. But
you're changing your policy. First, you're saying Allah can't appear as a man. Now you say he does appear as a man. But it's not incarnation. But Allah doesn't need to incarnate because you believe that Allah has always existed with two right hands, at least 3 eyes, and a foot, right? He's always existed with that, right?
Yeah, Allah has always existed, yes.
So why does he need to incarnate when he already has these characteristics that you don't call a body? But for someone else, common sense. Wait, so this being has 2 right hands? Yeah. He has a waist? Yeah. He has gonads? Yes. He wears a waist sheet and a zar? Yes. He has at least 3 eyes? Yes. He has a foot? And you still don't want to call it a body? So if it's not a body, where are these body parts hanging? Are they suspended nowhere? Anyway, narrated Abdurrahman bin Aish, Allah's messenger, said, I saw my Lord, the exalted and glorious, in the most beautiful form. He said, what do the angels in the presence of Allah contend about? I said, thou art the most aware of it. He then placed his palm. So Allah has a palm between my shoulders. And I felt its coldness. So Allah has a very cold hand. His hand is cold. When you touch it, it's, that's cold, Allah, in my chest. And I came to know what was in the heavens and the earth. He recited, thus did we show Ibrahim the kingdom of the heavens and the earth. And it was so that he might have certainty. 675. Darimi reported a mursal, for meaning broken. And Tirmidhi also reported it. Allah's messenger, narrated Muad bin Jabal, Allah's messenger was detained one morning from observing the dawn prayer in congregation along with us, congregation.
Along with us till the sun had almost appeared on the
horizon. He then came out hurriedly, and iqama for prayer was observed, and he conducted it, prayer in brief form. When he had concluded the prayer by saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, he called out to us saying, remain in your places as you were. Then turning to us, he said, I'm going to tell you what detained me from you, on account of which I could not join you in the prayer in the morning. I got up in the night and performed ablution, observed the prayer as had been ordained for me. I dozed in my prayer till I was overcome by sleep. And lo, I found myself in the presence of my Lord, the blessed and the glorious, in the best form. He said, Muhammad, I said, at thy service, my Lord. Labaik. He said, what these highest angels contend about? I said, I do not know. He repeated it thrice. He said, then I saw him, that's your Lord, Allah, put his palms, 2 of his hands, between my shoulder blades till I felt the coldness of his fingers. So Allah has fingers, right? Fingers between the 2 sides of my chest. Then everything was illuminated for me and I could recognize everything. He said, Muhammad, I said, at thy service, my Lord. He said, what do these high angels contend about? I said, in regards to expiations. He said, what are these? I said, going on foot to join congregational prayers, sitting in the mosques, after the prayers, performing ablution, will dispute the difficulties. He again said, then what do they contend? I said, in regard to the ranks. He said, what are these? I said, providing of food, speaking gently, observing the prayer. And when the people are asleep, he again said to me, beg your Lord and say, O Allah, I beg of thee power to do good deeds and abandon abominable deeds, to love the poor, that thou forgive me and show mercy to me. And when thou intends to put people to trial, thou causes me to die unblemished, and I beg of thee, thy love and the love of one who loves thee and the love for the dead, which brings me near to thy love. Allah's messenger said, it is the truth, so learn it and teach it. Now, who's it transmitted by? Scroll down a little bit, so I can't see it. Transmitted by Ahmed. Now pay attention. Tirmidhi said, this is a Hasan Sahih Hadith. Good sound. Because I don't want you to say it's daif. It's weak. Hasan, good, Sahih. And I asked Muhammad ibn Ismail about this Hadith, and he said it is what? I can't read the part all the way there.
Sahih Hadith.
It is a Sahih Hadith. Okay. So I just gave you two Hadiths. One is sound, good. Your Lord appeared as a youth where his palms touched Muhammad's chest, and he felt the coldness of his fingers. Now let's go back to Maakir, where I'm going to show you he appeared beardless, meaning that Allah doesn't follow sunnah. Because the sunnah is you have to have a beard, right?
Yes, I agree.
But your God doesn't have a beard, so he doesn't follow sunnah. Why are you laughing, man? Scroll down. No, it's really, I'm not lying.
It's a lie.
His God doesn't have a beard. Here, right here. Go ahead, hold on there. Right here. I saw my Lord in the most beautiful form, like a youth with abundant hair. And who narrated? Now notice the grading. Al-Darqutni, Kitab al-Ru'ya. Okay, it gives you the numbers. Similar reports from al-Tufail, Anas bin Malik, Muad bin Afra, Ibn Umar, Aisha, Ibn Abbas, reported by Tabarani, Ibn Abi Asim, Al-Bayhaqi, Al-Suyuti, Al-Haythami, Ibn Adi, Al-Baghdadi. Here's another one. I saw my Lord in the form of a young man, beardless, Amrad, with short, curly hair, Jad, and clothed in a rain garment. So your God, beardless, he's young looking, curly hair, and he wears a red garment. Now, what's the classification of this hadith? Narrated by Ahmad bin Hanbal in Tabarani, authenticated by Ahmad bin Hanbal in his creed, citing Isnad, and he gives you the Sanad in the names. Then it mentions Daraqutni, Kitab al-Ruya, Al-Tabarani, Al-Mujam, Al-Kabir, Sahih by Abu Hassan bin Bashar in Ibn Abi Yala Tabaqat. And then it says, accepted by Ibn Taymiyyah and Bayan Tablis al-Jahmiyyah. So are you okay with your Lord being beardless, wearing a red garment with curly hair, appearing as a youth?
I'm okay with it.
Right?
You're okay with it?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
And yet you have a problem with us saying God's eternal word became flesh from the virgin. So he's a human male, perfect, unblemished, who is the eternal word of the Father. So his kalam, so he's uncreated. So what's your problem with us, really? Because you, as far as your religion is concerned, you have no grounds to criticize anything we believe about God being triune, or that the word of God who came forth from God became flesh, and that's Jesus Christ. Logically, you have no issue with it. So what's your real problem?
Well, Allah does never incarnates. Your religion teaches incarnation. Allah does never incarnates as a human.
Where does your God say he doesn't incarnate?
Well, you show me any hadith or anywhere in the Quran where Allah incarnates.
I'm asking because you made the statement. See, this is how logic works. The one who makes the claim, he has to prove it. Since you're not a prophet, you're not a messenger, you're not a scholar, where do you get that Allah says, I cannot incarnate? So are you saying that you know what Allah can and cannot do?
Well, because it just in Islam, we don't believe Allah becomes a human being like Christians.
Okay, but you do believe Allah is human looking. He's a young boy, beardless with curly hair, and you believe Allah has always existed with two right hands, at least three eyes, a foot, a waist, gonads, and a waist sheet. And he's always existed this way.
He's always existed, yes.
That way?
But those are descriptions for us to comprehend. It's not.
Oh, so they're not real? So Muhammad did not truly, really describe Allah as he is?
He did describe Allah as he is.
So Allah truly has three eyes?
If that's what the Prophet said, then yes.
Two right hands?
If the Prophet said that, then yes.
Yeah, he did say that. I'll give you the hadith, show you sound, authentic hadith. And he has a foot that he puts over hell?
Yes, he does. He has a foot that he puts under hell.
And he wears an izar, a waist sheet, because it says that the womb reached out and grabbed Allah by his gonads and yanked on his waist sheet, izar.
If that's what it says, I haven't read that before, but if it says that,
right now to read it.
The Prophet said that, then yes, I believe this.
Somebody laughing? I'm seeing somebody laughing in the background. I don't know, but anyway.
God logic.
So you want me to?
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
okay, so, well, let me continue with this man, because this man looks sincere, and if he keeps opening his heart, he will come to Jesus Christ. So this is not one of those trolls. Okay, so now I'm a Christian. I'm looking at you and saying, so God doesn't become flesh, but your God has always been a physical being of some kind. So you believe in a God who's always had 3 eyes, always had 2 right hands, and he has a left one, by the way. The Hadith Muslim says he has a left hand, which some of your scholars say, well, no, it's his other right hand. It's being called left, not because it's actually left. It's the 2 right hands, but we call one of the right hands left. But anyway, we get to that. So 2 right hands. He's got genitals, gonad. He wears a waist sheet. He has a foot and a shin, and you're going to know him by his shin. Chapter 68:42.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Oh, so you believe that?
Yes. Allah has a shin.
Let me be honest with you. Is Allah's shin hairy or is it smooth because he's beardless?
I don't know. Allah, this is beyond my knowledge. I don't know what Allah looks like, but we will find out on the day of judgment. We will see Allah's shin. Then we will dive down.
Is it possible, since Allah is beardless, his shin can be hairy or it can be hairless? Possible?
I don't know. I can't comment. I don't know.
So you don't know. But would you be surprised if Allah were to show his shin and it's very hairy?
I don't care. If it's part of it, if that's what Allah is, then I don't care. I
hope you go back and listen to yourself, because you mock our faith that God became flesh and lived a human life out of his love for us to die for us. You mock that. But if you go back and listen to yourself, honestly listen to yourself. Don't think you're a Muslim. Say, if I'm a non-Muslim and I just heard this is what I believe, you would start laughing at your own religion. You didn't see how nonsense this stuff is because you're so blinded thinking it's true. Other people are listening. Wait, this man believes God, the creator of heaven and earth, the Almighty God, has 3 eyes, 2 right hands and a left. He's got genitals. He's got a foot and a shin that he'll unveil, and he's always possessed this. And
What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's plenty wrong with it, because if Allah is the creator of all things, let me explain to you now. Logic. You're talking about logic, right?
Okay.
Did Allah create all space and place and time?
Yes.
No, because if he has eyes and he has hands and he has a foot and a shin, that is what we call a shape, mass, and mass and shape requires space. So where was his eye? Say it again. You got it, right?
Yeah.
You said, yeah. So the light switch went up. So that means there is a certain space and place Allah did not create, because that's the space and place where his eyes and his hands and his shin must exist. So Allah did not create all space and place. So you don't believe Allah is the creator of all things.
He didn't create himself, but he created everything but himself. He didn't create himself.
And that himself needs a space to be located and fixated in. Because where are the eyeballs? Because eyeballs, they're real, even though they're unlike anything. But they're real. So these eyeballs and these hands have to dwell somewhere. They're suspended somewhere. Well, that somewhere is space and place. So that means there is a part of space and place that's uncreated, that Allah did not create. And if he did not create, he doesn't own it, because that space is something he needs to have to exist in. So there's something that Allah did not create, does not control, but he's actually contained by it. And you don't see the logical problem with this?
Well, it's beyond my comprehension. I can't understand it. So
anyone can use that excuse, my friend. Anyone can. So when I tell you Jesus becoming flesh and he's God in the flesh, beyond my comprehension, you laugh at me. Stupid kafir. Why is it okay for me to let you get off with that? Oh, it's beyond my comprehension. So when I tell you Trinity is beyond my comprehension, you stupid kafir. So why should I let you get away with that?
Well, because we believe the last prophet, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why the Prophet said it. Then you don't believe the Prophet Muhammad.
Even if he teaches nonsense that makes no sense, that ends up making your God not the creator of all things, you're still okay with it?
I don't care.
Okay, all right. So that means you don't even care with the kind of teachings you find in the Quran, that if you have the upper hand and if you're called to jihad fi sabilillah, you would do with no shame, right? You okay with that?
Yeah. Well, if it's in Islam, then yes.